eerie, sometimes frightening to the uninformed, can be music to the ears of the residents of the northern sections of the United States. We've all seen the world change in our lifetimes. The population has exploded, and once quiet, serene areas have been built up, they've been destroyed, they've been commercialized. Our waterways and our air have been riddled with pollutants of all kinds. This has all been leading to the loss of natural resources and clean, clear lakes that are necessary for the nesting, the breeding, and the growth of a very unique, powerful, and beautiful bird called the common loon. Well, what's so special about a common loon, you might ask? Well, if you visit a lake in the northern section of the United States and have a close encounter with one, I can guarantee you will forever be affected. In order for you to appreciate and understand what we would lose if we did not continue with conservation efforts, I'm going to explain to you some of the things that make the common loon so unique, powerful, and beautiful. Did you know that the common loon has been around for millions of years? This bird is not only unusual, it's ancient. It's one of the oldest flying birds that is still around today. According to the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, the common loon's ancestors, the species Gravia, inhabited the earth around 100 million years ago. It's amazing with all the spatial and environmental changes that have occurred that this bird still exists and has survived all these years. From millions of years of untouched lakes to more and more houses being built to the land becoming developed and pollutants in the earth, their requirements for survival have been shrinking, and yet they have still survived. Their numbers have fallen, but they've held steady in recent years due to an increase in conservation efforts. The common loon has survived all these years despite some unusual traits that would make it difficult, you'd think, for them to survive. One very unusual trait they have is that their feet are located at the rear of their bodies instead of underneath it like most birds. This makes it difficult for them to maneuver on land. For this reason that they live primarily in the water, and they make their nests at the edge of lakes. They make them in marshes, bogs, and in high grass on the edge of the lake. This way they can approach their nests from underneath the water instead of having to worry about being on land. It also helps to protect them from predators that are around. Because of the location of their feet, they cannot become airborne from land. If a loon landed in a road when it was migrating, it's pretty much a goner unless someone puts it in water. According to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, it takes from 30 yards to a quarter of a mile for a loon to launch itself into the air. I've seen it on the lake before. It's really quite a sight. It looks like they're literally running across the top of the lake, shallowly flapping their wings up to 250 times a minute till they finally achieve flight. It's quite a sight, I have to say. Once they do achieve flight, they are very swift birds. They can fly up to 80 miles an hour when they're airborne. And another trait that makes the loon unusual is that it's a flying bird, but they have solid bones. Most birds, most flying birds, have hollow bones. It makes them lighter, helps them achieve lift easier, and makes flight easier for them. You usually only see solid bones in a flightless bird like an ostrich, or in a diving bird like a penguin. Again, the loon, it's unusual. It crosses the divide. It is a flightless bird, but it's a diving bird also. Now, these ancient, unusual birds have survived millions of years, and in part, that's due to the fact that they have some of these unusual traits. For example, they're extremely powerful in the water. As I said before, they have solid bones, not hollow bones. Because their bones are not hollow like most flying birds, they're buoyant, they're less buoyant in the water. This unique trait makes them able to dive and propel themselves very, very deeply under the water, up to 150 feet deep, without crushing their bodies. They need to step up in a lot of the lakes that they're in to catch fish. They eat up to 2 pounds of fish a day. They exhale the air from their lungs lungs, they squeeze their wings in very, very tightly, almost to depuff their bodies, streamlines them. And because of this, they can quietly dive into the water and maneuver very quickly. Hardly a splash or a sound. You would not even know that they were diving. And it makes it easy for them to sneak up on their prey. Another reason that the loons move so quickly and well in the water is the location of their feet at the rear of their body. As I said before, their feet act like a propeller and a rudder all in one in the water. You can watch a loon dive and it seems like they never come up. Then all of a sudden, if you look down the lake 200 yards, they surface, usually with a fish in their mouth. It's quite amazing to watch. Yet, as amazing as it is to sit by the lake and watch their antics, swimming, disappearing, coming up further down the lake with a fish in their mouth, there's another reason that people love to observe the loon. A loon is a beautiful bird, both vocally and physically. Physically, the loon has a coal black head, beautiful, beautiful black coal head with a white and black striped collar, almost like a necklace on its neck. Their back has a beautiful checkerboard of black and white feathers. Really, really, they're striking to look at. Their eyes, with a very bright red eye set in that coal black head. They're quite stunning. In the sun, you could see that bright red eye, and it's just a sight to behold. Now, that eye serves another purpose, too. When they are diving underwater, that they literally use their eyes to be able to see the fish, and then those feet that are like propellers to maneuver, follow the fish to catch those fish. It's all part of the grand scheme. Now, the loon is beautiful, not only physically, but they're beautiful vocally. Their beauty is more than feather deep, is what I like to say. They have a series of calls that have been called haunting, they've been called eerie, they've been called mournful, and they've been called crazy. The first call that I ever heard is called the tremolo, called the crazy laugh. And that's the sound that they use when they're alarmed, when they feel threatened. They use this tremolo call to warn all the other loons on the lake that danger is nearby. And that call sounds a little bit like this. This is the crazy laugh. It is kind of a crazy laugh. The first time I ever heard that was at night in Maine, my first time there. And I was pretty scared. I didn't know what was going on. But I soon found out what it was. Now, another call that they make is called the yodel. The yodel is only made by the male loon. The yodel is used by the male loon when he's protecting his territory. I've learned that loons are very territorial birds. The male finds the nest site and the area around it, and other loons that are not part of the family are not allowed near it. If another loon or group of loons comes by, the male will assume an upright position, posture, start flapping his wings, and make this yodeling sound to tell them basically to get lost. It's quite a sound to hear. I've learned that Mager, Walcott, and Piper did a study on the male loon yodel, and they found a correlation between the number of syllables in the yodel and the amount of aggression displayed by the loon. The more syllables in the yodel, the angrier the loon is. And the sound goes something like this. Those are the syllables you can hear. Those are the syllables that you can hear. I've seen groups of young males that don't have mates approaching a nesting area, and it's quite a sight. You think there's going to be a fight, but the male usually prevails, and you can hear that echoing across the lake. There's another sound that they make. It's called a hoot. That's the sound reserved for family members and friends, and they're checking in. Hey, how you doing? And it's called a hoot. It sounds more like a hut hut sound. It sounds a little bit like that hut hut hut. sound they make just when they're hanging out and checking in on one another, usually with family. Now, the reason I really love the loons and I have been so interested for them is the wail that they make. The first time I heard that wail and I found out its significance, it just touched me forever. Wail is the sound that the mates use to find each other on the lake. Usually you hear it at night when one of them has gone off for whatever reason, and one will wail, the other one will answer, and they'll continue answering each other until they find each other. It's really quite a sound. I'll let you hear it here. It's almost like, where are you? I'm coming. That's how I always heard it. It's quite peaceful to me. It's quite comforting to hear that when I'm going to sleep at night, and I think I've always found it quite romantic. So you can see the common loon, or its scientific name, Gravia immer, is a multifaceted bird that has faced everything that nature and man has thrown at it and still survived. Their ancestors have been around since prehistoric times, and despite the drawbacks of some of their unusual traits, these diving birds of flight have become powerful swimmers and hunters. They've entertained us and enchanted us with their beauty and with their vocal quality for years. So the next time that you see masses of construction along the edge of a lake, or you read about a spill or the destruction of our environment, I want you to think back to the common loon, this ancient bird that has survived for millions of years. I want you to be quiet and hear his wail in the night, searching for his mate and just trying to survive.